Thank you, Jesus.
Annette, are we live on YouTube yet?
I am checking the chat.
And I apologize to everybody here and in the meeting, but Mac is going to be running a little bit late, so I'm going to start the meeting. So I will not be able to mute. And I have a puppy who is being unruly right now. So if you happen to hear something, that's what it is. We're having an issue right now.
We're having an issue. All right, you're live, Commissioner Scott.
All right, thank you. Good morning to everybody. It's a wonderful day out. This is our first really full commissioners meeting of 2021. With that, I would let all the commissioners know that if you are not speaking, please mute, because we have been getting feedback and everything, and that way it'll make it a little bit easier for everybody. And with that given, we'll start by giving the invocation. Will be given by Commissioner Yarborough.
Thank you. I'd like to first ask if we could have a moment of silence in honor of the 5 people that were killed in our Capitol in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021. Lord, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Dear Lord, please go with us, the Berrien County Board of Commissioners. Fix our hearts and minds to treat all by the golden rule. Lord, take care of our health and safety. We thank you for the COVID vaccine. Help it to be dispensed as fully as possible. Help the vaccine be what we need. I ask you, Lord, to go with us and other public bodies, helping us to think, figure, and do that which is best for our communities. Help us to work in decency and order. And Lord, I ask for mercy and grace for our Berrien County Commissioner Rayante Bell's grandfather, who has taken sick. Please heal him, Lord. And Lord, please bless our citizens and bless the United States of America. Amen. Oops.
Would you please remain standing and recite the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America,
America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yeah. Curran.
I'm present in the boardroom.
Freeling.
Present via Zoom, Baroda Township.
Harrison.
Present via Zoom from Lincoln Township.
Hinkleman.
Present, Zoom, Waterville.
Najeri.
Present via Zoom in Niles, Michigan.
Meeks.
Present via Zoom, Ben Charter Township.
Scott.
Present via Zoom, New Buffalo Township.
Borat.
I'm here in the room, live.
Werfel.
Present in the boardroom.
Yarborough.
Present, City of Benton Harbor.
Elliott. You have 10 present at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the January 7th, 2021 meeting. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I make that motion. This is Commissioner Freeling.
This is Commissioner Harrison. I'll second the motion.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Najeri,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Borat,
Yes.
Littlefield,
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
10 yeas, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, we're back to you again. Any communications?
Yes, received an email on January 13th from Gregory Offenbach of Sodus Township, or of Sodus, Michigan, requesting a resolution to Governor Whitmer regarding lockdowns and business closures. That's all.
All right, thank you very much. The next item up on our agenda is the broadband survey update. The broadband committee is Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Freeling, and Commissioner Scott. And at this point in time, we have with us via Zoom, John Eaglehoff, who's the Executive Director of the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, and Charlotte Beersdorf of the Vice President of Community Engagement for Merit Industries. So I will open the floor up for that survey update.
I think the first part of our presentation, are we going to spool that up here? Do we have the, there we go. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Charlotte, who's going to take the front end of this because it is for Merit Network to be able to introduce itself to you all. So Charlotte, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. Before I start, Commissioner Freeling, did you want to kick anything off or would you like me to go ahead and jump in?
Thank you, Charlotte. I'd be happy to just say a couple of things. First, I want to thank John Engelhoff and the work that he has done. There was quite a bit of heavy lifting over the last year. What we have ultimately landed on is a really great partnership with Merit Network, which has led to our connection with Charlotte and her team to help us better understand what's happening here in Berrien County with regards to high-speed internet access and reliability. It's not just a rural issue, it is throughout the entire county, but trying to make the case for any grant funding that is available has been really difficult because currently the way that the FCC maps read for Berrien County, it claims that we have a 95% broadband access, which is defined as a 25/3 speed. So that's 25 megabits per second download, 3 megabit per second upload. And so we really wanted to be able to make the case to those providers who may be able to come to help Berrien County with broadband, know those areas that we're lacking. And so that led us to the connection with Merit, which was all on the work with John reaching out to different partners, which has led us to today and the update on the survey and the timeline that we have in front of us for the community. So with that, Charlotte, thank you so much for your time today, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Freeling, and thank you to the entire Board of Commissioners for just a few minutes of your time today, just to share a quick update on where we're at, where we're going. And I'd like to begin just by sharing a little bit about who I am and my background and Merit Network as a nonprofit organization. So Brian, slide. I'm Charlotte Beeversdorf, Merit's Vice President for Community Engagement. So in my operational role, I provide senior leadership to all of our community-facing teams, and that includes member engagement, marketing and communications, and then a small internal business support unit. And in addition to my operational role, my strategic focus over the past 3 years has been in leading our Michigan Moonshot Initiative, which is Merit's commitment to closing the digital divide for Michigan communities. Slide. Merit is the nation's longest running research and education network. We are a 501c3 and we are governed by 12 of the 13 public universities in the state of Michigan. We also have over 400 affiliate member organizations that are comprised of K-12 and private and community colleges, library, government entities, healthcare, and nonprofits. Slide. This is a look at our statewide middle mile infrastructure. So we maintain and operate over 4,000 miles of middle mile infrastructure. We actually, this is a little outdated. We now have over 800 connections to that network. We provide local support out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, so 24/7. So I can't do a presentation without showing our middle mile because our tech guys, this is our prized possession. And historically, we really have been a network operator, a security and network services provider. And what I want to focus on now is this segue into community service around broadband expansion, closing the digital divide, which is all comprised under our Michigan Moonshot Initiative. Slide. So Merit's mission is connecting organizations and building community. We are a community organization, a membership organization. Again, I mentioned our core pillars and our security and our services portfolio are network security and community. And it's really under the community pillar that this Moonshot Initiative was launched. So the Moonshot Initiative is a call to action to close the digital divide for Michigan communities. And community is what Moonshot is really all about. It's about building the ecosystem necessary in order to make, progress through that community network journey, which is complex, difficult, from a funding, a planning, an everything perspective. The broadband journey is difficult, and it all really kind of ties back to building that ecosystem. Slide. And one more. So I'm not going to go into all of these, just given the limitation on time. Happy to do that as a follow-up item, of course. But these are really the primary pillars that Moonshot is organized around. Data and mapping, obviously, is what we're here to talk about today. Funding and policy, and education and resources. We selected these, foundational pillars for our program just because they really represent the largest obstacles for local communities as they move through this broadband expansion journey. All right, go ahead, Brian. And as a nonprofit, the why it matters is important to us as the work that we're doing. So this slide really touches on something that is undeniable at this point. Certainly with the pandemic, everyone is well versed and educated on how broadband touches our lives and what the societal impact of having broadband or lack thereof really means to communities. So I don't think I need to spend a lot of time here, but this is a really important issue. And it's work that we have really dove into. We've made a tremendous amount of progress from a statewide initiative perspective over the past 3 years. We've absolutely been thrilled to work with the Berrien County Task Force Group, as well as John and his staff, to try to bring broadband expansion to Berrien County. And data collection is really the foundational and first step in all of those early planning activities that we need to do in order to be grant ready, network ready. And we'll talk a little bit today, again, focusing on data collection and our benchmarks for completing that process. And then if there's questions about what comes next, we can certainly address that. So with that, John, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay. Next slide. I don't want to assume too much about people knowing what the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission is. So I'm John Eaglehoff. I'm the director of the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission. We were created by the Berrien County Board of Commissioners, as well as so we work for you, but we also work for the commission in Cass and Van Buren counties as well. So we're a 3-county regional planning organization. Go ahead. We've been working in the broadband space for a while now, since 2012. At that point, we really wanted to do essentially what we're trying to do now, but there just wasn't enough momentum for it. We pushed pause in 2014. And I just think, like I said, the world, our part of the world really wasn't quite ready for it yet. The atmosphere, the ecosystem, the general environment now is there is actually funding flowing toward broadband now. So it's a better place to be, makes more sense to be in there now than it was back in 2012. Go ahead. A little reminder here, Berrien County Commissioners passed the broadband torch over to the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission in 2012. You all landed on broadband as a priority in the county. And since then, the commission has been building our capacity and partnerships in the broadband space ever since. Go ahead. We began meeting regularly with Berrien County commissioners, those members that were noted earlier, late in 2019 and well into 2020. And we just kept sharing the latest information that we were acquiring at the commission and you all were acquiring at the Berrien County Commission level. So it was a place for us to come together with all that info. Go ahead. Eventually, our shared intelligence gathering and collaboration led us to Merit and the moonshot. We're glad about that. Go ahead. So in October of 2020, a little reminder even further that the commission agreed to work with Merit on the data collection project. And just a reminder that the project is to build a comprehensive understanding of broadband coverage and, more importantly, gaps across the county. So where we got coverage, where there are gaps, that's where we need to start. And then we can start working to try to close those gaps. Okay, go ahead. All right, this is where I turn it back over to Charlotte, and she can talk specifically about how Merit is walking us through this process of this project.
All right, so this is really our timeline of where we're at. So the data collection process is kind of fits into three high-level categories: pre-survey, data collection, post-survey output and analysis. So this is titled community engagement. We've been meeting with the task force regularly, and it's all around building this local ecosystem of partners that can help promote the survey and ensure that all citizens are aware of it, they know how to become involved in it. And we support this with some marketing that we'll do local ad buys for, but it really is an important component of an effective inclusion of all of your citizens, is that we rely on these local partners. So we've been building those collaborations. We'll have a webinar with our community partners on January 25th. And we'll talk a little bit at the end of today's presentation about how we would like to ask the larger Board of Commissioners to contribute any ideas they have on community partners we may not have thought of yet. So we'll hold that webinar towards the end of this month. And then, of course, obviously, we're doing our BOC update today. Slide. This is a timeline on the data collection date. So we're doing a supplementary postcard mailing to the most underserved areas of the county. That will hit February 8th. Then the larger marketing campaign and launch and the community partner campaign will launch on February 15th. We will collect data for a period of 6 weeks. So it'll run February 15th through March 26th. Slide. This is a look at what the flowchart of data collection looked like. We basically have the marketing communications launch, as I mentioned, that will launch people into two channels, essentially. There is a survey for the served, which they take online, and that is coupled with a speed test. And there is a lightweight web application for unserved homes that people can do from their cell phone. That happens pretty much simultaneously. We then pull the speed test, the served and the unserved data all back together. We go through a process to clean that data and begin to analyze and produce the output assets, which we will present to the community. Slide. And this is that last piece, output and data analysis. So we've earmarked 4 weeks for this. It may be sooner than that, but I'd rather plan for longer and deliver early. But the period from March 29 to April 29, we'll be doing output and analysis. And essentially that'll lead us to a community presentation of our findings. Within that, we present an executive summary, an executive findings report, which is short, concise, very polished. That is also accompanied by a supportive, in-depth report that gives a lot more granular detail that'll be advantageous for kind of the next step in the broadband journey, and of course the task force group as they move through additional early planning activities. And so that is our project timeline. Go ahead and hit slide. This is another view of that all in one slide. So we've been working in earnest since the October timeframe, and this kind of shows you all of the activities that will take us through that post data collection activity. And slide. So we'd like to close with, how to engage. I think from the citizens' perspective, there will obviously be a launch. That'll be global marketing campaigns from local ad purchases, including radio, social, et cetera. And of course, our community partners getting the words out to their individual constituents will be a huge component of the participation in the survey. So we'd like to ask the Board of Commissioners to send to the task force, any ideas that you might have on community partners. And I think we could work through potentially Brian to get a list out of the existing community partners so that you have something to kind of check that against. And if anyone has any other ideas and can make introductions, Merit will handle all of the logistics and the communications and the engagement. We don't want to burden anyone with extra work, but we need obviously the local input and introductions to these organizations that may want to support the project. And slide. So to close out, I want to remind the group that data is absolutely an imperative and important step. The importance of broadband data collection extends far beyond its application as a research tool and a tool to generate information. At its essence, data collection can be leveraged as a mechanism for community engagement at all levels. Through the process of collecting data, availability, and adoption data on broadband, the community strengthens their focus on developing an ecosystem of elected officials, community anchor institutions, broadband champions, and citizens who are all committed to increasing connectivity within your area. Together, this coalition of partners upholds a commitment to moving the needle forward on digital access and equity within your community. This step is very, very important in building momentum on what you all will need locally in order to kind of make it through the rest of this journey. Which is kind of a long game, and I applaud you for taking a really important first foundational step in conducting data collection. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions from around the table, literally, virtually?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Scott. I would just like
Yes,
to make
sir.
a comment on this. There are some other people involved that need to be mentioned for how we've come this far. Number one, John has carried the heavy weight for our task force, for us three commissioners, and I truly appreciate it. We could not have gotten where we're at right now if it wasn't for John and his persistence, I should say, into trying to find out the best for Berrien County. Also, when our county administrator, Brian Dissett, we brought Brian in on this and has been unbelievably outstanding in his input, and he works hard every day and every meeting that we have our task force meeting. Also, it should be noted that Brian has enlisted a large amount of Berrien County staff members, community development, the treasurer, Lex and GIS, everything for this particular project. And I just wanted to make sure that we announced that these people have also been working very hard along with the Merit Moonshot people to help get this underway. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezra. Any other questions, comments?
This is Michael. I have a couple questions. Like, just, can we get a list or categories of local people that you may want to be in contact with that we can help you with? I don't know, I don't know if you're looking for banks, priests, newspapers. What kind of people do you want contact with? Maybe local computer stores, or fill me in a little bit. I don't know where to look.
Yeah, we certainly can provide the list. The task force has done a tremendous amount of work in this arena, and Commissioner Freeling has taken a heavy task of doing a lot of the initial outreach and providing the Merit team with introductions to quite a few local community partner groups. So we can share out the list that we currently have, which may spark some ideas about, but really it's any and all of the above. Anyone that would be committed to share the survey and promote the survey locally would be invited to participate in sharing the launch.
This is John. I would add that it's organizations like the Pokagon Fund, like the United Way. This is a kind of a sort of, I'm just trying to level set a little bit. So that's kind of, there might be sort of like a top tier of organizations that have really good distribution lists that we can, find them as partners. Berrien Community Foundation, tap into them, ask for their advocacy, and then they can push the survey notice out to folks on their distribution list.
Mr. Chair. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
Please go ahead, Commissioner Freeland.
I was just going to suggest, I appreciate what Charlotte had said and what John had said. Certainly, if you have any service organizations, Lions, Elks, realtor associations, PTOs, things along that line, your superintendents for your school districts. These are all individuals that I've reached out to who have shown interest, even homeowner associations, neighborhood advocates, certainly any way that we can kind of get the survey generated and pushed out to the public is going to be good, Mike. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Mamie?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this presentation. And Charlotte of Merit, I would like to ask, do you have any communities that are farther along that you can tell us some things that are happening with them, some pluses?
Yes, certainly. Washtenaw County is probably the best example. Now, they had a pretty mature broadband task force, but they went through the data collection process this past, really we started in February and we wrapped up data collection just before everything shut down for the pandemic. We delivered the findings in June of 2020 via virtual meeting, and they have since moved on to conduct feasibility and pre-engineering activities, which are kind of our next step in our early planning broadband expansion activities. So they are finishing up the process of completing those activities and essentially beginning to plan the network, identify ISPs that may be willing to expand within the footprint, build a business case for those ISPs. And if no commercial organizations will expand, then they'll begin to look at either municipal owned options, federal grant funds, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
This is Commissioner Werfel. I would also like to know if we can find out where those underserved areas that you're going to target in the data collection is located, and perhaps most of you know, but I'm new to the organization, so I'd really like to find those areas out.
Yeah, we're still fine tuning. What we started with as a to begin was RDOF eligible funding areas, but we need to do a sanity check against, people who really are local and understand the local landscape, because the issue with some of the federal maps now is that they over-report broadband, which is in essence why we're doing this project. So we can't rely solely on those maps in order to help us find the most underserved, but we're working through that with the task force and we can share that out.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, John, Charlotte, thank you very much for your time and for the detailed presentation, very helpful and timely. We will move on now to committee reports. We'll start with administration. Jim.
Thank you, Mac. We held our first meeting and I appointed Don Meeks as the administrative committee vice chair. We welcomed Commissioner Werfel to our administration committee and to the board. We spent just a few minutes introducing ourselves to her and her to us, which was good to know a little bit about the people that you're going to be working with. So that was very enjoyable. At the end of our meeting, we have, and the board is aware of this, that Paul Janka Jr. has asked to move into the Defense Department completely into the Enterprise building and vacate the Church Street building. So what we're going to do after the Board of Commissioners meeting this morning is the administration committee is going to take a tour of the Church Street building and then go over and tour the Enterprise building so that we can get a better handle on their needs and see if we can get those accomplished for them. And that was our meeting.
Very good, thank you. Dave, Julie, anything to add?
I wasn't there. Dave wasn't there yet.
So I didn't know I was on until after they were done.
Any questions for admin? Hearing none, we will move on to PHS. Bob.
So we met this morning at 8 o'clock. We were absent Commissioner Bell because of his family emergency, but we did work through our agenda quite well. We deferred action on the minutes until our next meeting. We had a couple requests, one from the prosecutor's office to increase the pay for a new hire, someone coming to us with experience. And so we did rely on the recommendation of administration to support that request. We also had 7 individuals who are no longer our employees asking for refund of their investments into the pension fund, and we did approve those. And then we also had a request from the trial court for additional pay for Carissa Grimm. She's going to be the focal person for the trial court computer integration program, which is significant. Both with the prosecutor's office and the trial court request, those are all both budget neutral. So we did approve them. We also had 2 resolutions, one with Orchard Hill landfill for residential recycling, and then the second with Kalamazoo County for the Household Hazardous Waste Center. And we are recommending the board approve both of those. I did appoint Commissioner Majeric as the vice chair of the committee, along with all the compensation and benefits associated with that position. So that concluded our meeting, and that's my report.
Questions for PHS? Bob, I have a question on the prosecutor's office request for an advanced step higher. Are they wanting to come in at step 2 or step 3?
I would have to go back and look at that. I can give you that information. Brian might have it. Andy.
I think he does, actually.
Grade 11, step 3.
Grade 11, step 3. And is it the committee's recommendation to do that?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. If that doesn't stimulate any questions, we'll move on to finance. Mamie.
Thank you very much. Our finance committee met and we had bids that we opened this morning. I would like to ask Commissioner Scott if he would tell us about the bid opening and leave out the numbers, just how many and how many responded, or do what you can to cut these 4 pages down. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ben Reynolds did bid openings for the road department and for the new commissioners and the older commissioners. The bids were 2021-001 is where it started. And 002 and 004, they bid out aggregate base course. There was a couple of bids for that. And the HMA base crushing. There was another, there was, I think, 3 bids for that. Couple of them local. But then we got into bid 004, which was aggregate. And aggregate is what we deal with in the finance committee, is aggregate for different types of stone and trap rock. And it's all bid out per garage because there's a delivery fee schedule. And that's what our chair, Mamie, was talking about, not to get into the figures because it's 3 pages. So we went through that, and basically what we did is we recommended that all of these bids go back to the department, which was the road department, which, by the way, the road department engineer, Kevin Stack, was with us this morning via Zoom to help explain any questions that we had on this. So we basically sent everything back to the road department for their purview to determine the bids. And that's about the easy and the short way of doing this, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And would you like to just talk a second about the loader that you questioned?
Oh, yes. In the requisition list today, you'll see where there is a loader that the road department is purchasing. And it's in our requisitions. And I did not understand what that loader was because the previous finance committee had allowed the road department to go and go through my deal. So we didn't really get advised of what they're buying. So I had this question, and it was for a 3000C Leeboy force feed loader. And I just didn't know what that was. And for a couple $100,000, I questioned it, and they sent out the packaging. And also I got an answer from Kevin onto what this was for. And also from Carrie that it was a budgeted item and it was replacing a piece of equipment that was basically worn out. I believe she said it was, I don't know how many years old it was, but it was a long time. So that's all I had. So when it comes to the requisitions, if you see that, that's what that is. It is a piece of new equipment to replace an older piece of equipment.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And then we had resolutions. One was for bills. One was for the road department bills, and one was for broadband. Knowing that our commissioners, we have 2 on the finance committee involved with that, and that's Commissioner Scott and Commissioner Freeling. And what we had to do was by consensus say, please take these resolutions to the full board. And we want you all to know that we agree and ask for your support of them when we do our voting on resolutions. And then we appointed people to some vacancies on the Benton Harbor Public Works. We appointed Peter Karlovas. He's on the Hager Township Board, and he is being added to our Public Work Committee. And then we had a person on workforce development that we were reappointing. His name was David Culp. And then we placed a new person on the workforce development board, which is Connexus, and his name is Paul Konpacki. And then we accepted the minutes, and then, let me see. We talked about my deal, and we're going to do some things with Brian Doucette and with the road department to have a better look at the large items, a replacement of equipments that we do, so we can be in line with all the committees as we do it. That is the end of our committee. And we did have a public comment from Tony Benhart, and we had about 10 people that were online watching the Finance Committee. Thank you. Any questions? Any additions, committee members?
Anyone have anything to add? John, Terry, Ezra?
No, I think Mamie did a fine job.
Questions for finance?
I just have a comment for Commissioner Scott. You know, I called you, or I contacted you about that loader. I ended up Googling it, and there's a nice video on how that loader works. So Google is a nice thing to have.
Should have had that.
It's huge, isn't it? Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing for finance, thank you, Mamie. Public comments regarding our exhaustive list of resolutions today. Comments limited to resolutions on the agenda only at this point.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
While Annette looks for public comments, just to keep the discussion going about loaders, on the screen is an image of what is being required by the road department.
It looks like a talker toy.
Can we get one with more wheels?
But how large is this thing? How big is it?
Maybe it's made by Tonka.
Yeah. Minnetonka, Minnesota.
Yeah, we'll be up around that thing next week.
We have no comments, but I could use that machine. I need to redo our upper road in the spring. So. All right. No one has requested that we pull anything from the consent calendar. So is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent calendar.
Motion by Volrath, is there support?
I'll second the motion, Michael Majerick.
Moved by Volrath, supported by Majerick. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Freeling.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Engelmann.
Yes.
Majerick.
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Volrath.
Affirmative.
Worfeld.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Kern.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Motion carries.
11 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absent. Is that what we have today?
11 days, 1 absent. Yes,
Okay.
motion carries.
All right, well, and our thoughts are all with Commissioner Bell and his family. The next thing is board appointments. During the admin and finance presentations, there was mention made of some recommendations for appointments. I'll just quickly review those. Peter Slovos to the Berrien County Public Works Board, 3-year term ending 12/31/23. Reappointment of David Culp to the Workforce Development Board, another 3-year term ending on that same date, 12/31/23. The appointment of Paul Konpacki to the Workforce Development Board to fill the term of Tim Calhoun, and that term expires 12/31/22. Mamie, you are moving that those appointments be approved by the full board, is that correct?
Yes. I make that motion.
Is there support?
I support the motion.
Okay, is that Don? Is that Don?
Harrison.
Oh, Bob, okay. So moved by Yarborough, supported by Harrison. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Bullrat,
Yes.
Worrell,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes,
11 yeas, 1 absent, motion carries.
thank you. We'll do the same on the recommendation out of admin to appoint Steve Perangeli to the spot that Mike Sepik had until his retirement 2 weeks ago. That term expires 12/31/2023. Are you moving that appointment?
I am, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Curran, supported by Volrath. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Bullrat,
Yes.
Worrell,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes,
11 yeas, 1 absent.
thank you.
Motion carries.
We're now at the point of the appointments to boards and committees and outside commissions. Annette prepared a detailed list. We discussed it late yesterday and she sent it out this morning. We have some of these that are continued appointments. So people who are currently serving in various positions and who've expressed an interest in continuing to do that. We have some where we have openings and somewhere someone has been serving and doesn't want to anymore on a particular board. So before we wade into this, I want to pick a couple of them out and address those specifically. One of them is workforce development, where Bob Harrison has been serving. The term ends 12/31/22. Bob would like to step down. Don Meeks would like to step in. So we will make that appointment effective today. Commissioner Meeks will begin serving on workforce development and will do so for the next 2 years. Commissioner Harrison is stepping away. I know there was some interest on the health board. Julie had expressed interest in being on there. I had already discussed this with Bob a couple of weeks ago, that I wanted him to assume that spot that Bill Chickering had. I want to take advantage of Bob's background with Lakeland and have him be our liaison on the health board. So Bob Harrison is appointed as our liaison. I guess I need to go back and take French again. And that appointment is open-ended, Bob. So,
You're on for life.
so you're on, yeah, and you can designate a grandchild or something like that to take over when you're done.
Grandfather, pause.
So those two I'm plucking out to deal with separately. Now, otherwise, we've got Southwest Michigan Planning. Terry, you're currently on there. Commissioners Werfel and Bell have both expressed interest in the Planning Commission, and I don't know how many spots we have to fill on there. Terry, do you know?
There's 3 on there.
Is it 3?
So for the Berrien County Board of Commissioner, or Board, pardon me, Berrien County Planning Commission, there are 4 open spaces currently.
Okay, okay. All right, well then, effective today, We'll add Commissioners Werfel and Bell to the Planning Commission, and those terms will expire the end of this year, 12/31.
Mr. Chair, question.
Yes, sir.
We have several different planning commissions. One is the Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, which John Eaglehoff is on, which I think there's only 3 slot openings for commissioners. And that I'm not sure about that, but I believe that the Planning Commission, which Terry is the ex officio, I believe that's what that is, or I'm not sure. So which exactly one are they being placed on?
Well, the way I interpreted this, it's the Berrien County Planning Commission. Is that not correct?
That is correct. That is for the planning commission, and we've only had
One
the
that just
one.
says planning commission on it?
Yes, just planning commission is our planning
So that
commission.
should be.
Okay.
And
But
she
we
is the,
Pardon me?
Chairperson, we don't
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
do any, we're not ready to place anything on that. We're still moving it to Berrien County Planning Commission.
3 openings weren't for commissioners. They're just
Oh.
vacancies for other people. We only have 1 commissioner on that.
Okay, so there aren't commissioner openings on there right now?
There are not, I just expressed it, put down that there was interest. in
Okay,
case-
all right, well,
Sorry.
we can't do that. Do we have any openings on either Southwest Michigan Planning or on Brownfield?
The Brownfield is the one that
There's
Harrison,
Brown-
that he doesn't want to serve on that anymore.
Okay. Brownfield typically would be a member of finance. So is there any interest by anyone on the finance committee in serving on the Brownfield Development Authority?
Mr. Chair,
Terry, you're there now, right?
Yeah, and so is Majority.
correct.
And Michael? If,
Yes, I think, well, there's Terry and I. We used to have Terry, I, and Jeanette, and so we only have the 2 of us now.
Mac, Bob Harrison, I've been serving on that. We just haven't met. So Michael, you might have forgotten.
Poor Bob.
I was there smiling as you ran the meeting.
all right, okay, well, if that one's full, then the last one would be Southwest Michigan Planning. Do we have any commissioner openings there? Terry, do you know?
My understanding is that we do not, but there are some
Okay.
terms that have expired.
It's
But I
Terry.
think all of the commissioners who have been serving are still interested in continuing to serve, and their attendance has reflected that they have interest.
All right, well, we'll have Commissioners Werfel and Bell on standby for any opening there. And Terry, you'll continue your appointments
Okay.
then.
Well, who else is on there? Are there other Berrien County commissioners on the planning commission?
No, they don't.
Presently, no.
Okay,
And then looking at Terry, your MSU, Extension Advisory, Pension Committee, BCAT and the Broadband, and you'll stay on all of those. Jumping back up to Jim Curran, your appointments, Southwest Michigan Planning, Disaster Planning, LEPC, the Public Safety Communications Center, 911 Quality Assurance, 911 Advisory, BCAT and Broadband. You'll continue on all of those. Bob Harrison, you're appointed to the Health Board. You can continue on the LEPC and Disaster Planning. If one of the other, or if one of the Finance Committee members wants to take Commissioner Harrison's place on Brownfield, we could do that today. But that would be Ezra or John. Do either of you want to step in? John, you'd have first dibs as senior member.
No.
Is that, okay. Ezra?
Can't hear you.
Are you muted, Ezra?
I'm unmuted now. It depends on what committees that you put me on, because I don't want to have some of the committees that I'm on. I have strange meeting dates and times because I'm all involved with sewage and septics and solid waste and everything. So I have odd. So it doesn't matter to me. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I just need to make sure that there's no conflicts that I have.
I'm not going to touch that one. What we'll do then, Bob, if it's all right, just for the moment, we'll leave you on brownfield until we can come up with a viable replacement.
That's fine. That's fine. Glad to help.
Okay.
We have Terry, Majerick, and Harrison staying on brownfield.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
John, you're on the pension board and the land preservation board. Is it okay to continue on those?
That'll be fine. Thank you.
All right. Michael, Mental Health Authority, Substance Abuse Oversight Policy Board, the Niles Area Transportation Authority, and the Brownfield Authority. Are you good having those?
I'm good with those. I was just going to mention on the brownfield, because I don't want to throw him in, but Donnie Meeks, because his knowledge of the area around Benton Harbor and so on, a lot of the properties are there. He may want to think about brownfield.
Don, what say you?
I'll be anywhere this board want me to be. If you think I'll do better there, I would enjoy that.
Okay, well, if you step away from Southwest Michigan Community Action, can we put you on brownfield instead?
Yes, you can. One of the reasons I want to get off Southwest Michigan is because I had a conflict between two boards. One ended from 4 to 6 and one started at 6, but it's hard to make another board when they're 30 miles away. So I was either late for one board or early, or I had to leave. I say I had to leave early. So that's the reason I just want the board to know why I didn't want to serve on this one, continue serving. If I get someone conflict.
You're appointed now to the
appointment, and Mike, thank you for your recommendation also. But I'm I'm willing to serve and do what this board need me to do. Thank you.
All right, well, you're appointed effective today to the Brownfield Development Authority. We now have an opening on the Southwest Michigan Community Action Agency, and Commissioner Werfel, would you like to be appointed to that?
I'll take it.
Okay, that's done. Don, do you want to continue on Public Works?
Yes, I do.
And your others, Southwest Michigan Planning, Substance Abuse Oversight.
Everything else is fine.
Land Bank and Mental Health. All right. Well, you're continuing on all of those. Ezra, given the affection that was evident in your voice when you expressed your current assignments with the Health Department, you'll continue on the Well and Septic Review Board, the Sewage Appeals Board, the LRSB, Southwest Michigan Solid Waste Consortium, Solid Waste Planning, Land Bank, Broadband, and Pension Board, if that's okay.
That'll be fine, Mac.
All right. Dave, any changes to your current complement of appointments?
Not to committees. I like to get with Annette because there's a couple of them, they've changed the times they're meeting.
I
the days
would
and
love all
things.
that information. Give that
Yeah,
to me.
the MAC.
Okay.
General government, they combine that with finance again, so
Okay.
that's only one.
All right.
Yeah, I have no problem with any of the ones I'm on now. so.
Okay, then Volrath reappointed to Area Agency on Aging, County Public Sector Communications Center Op Committee, Technical Committee, LEPC, Smart Committee, Disaster Planning, 911 Advisory, MAC Judiciary, MAC General Government, and 911 Quality Assurance Committee. Mamie, are you good with your current appointments?
Would you tell me what they are?
You're on Workforce Development?
Yes.
Board, Land Bank Authority, Pension as, because of finance, Michigan Works, Economic Development, and Parks and Recreation.
One of them is the same too. You said Michigan Works and what else? Connect.
Workforce Development, Land Bank, Pension Board, Michigan Works Improvement Committee, Economic Development, and then the Parks Board.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
All right, you're reappointed to all of those.
Different days now.
Commissioner Werfel, you sent in an application last week to meet a deadline for a MAC appointment. What committee was that with MAC?
The Health and Human Services and Ag.
Okay, you're appointed to both of those committees effective today.
Sorry, did you say and ag?
Ag, I think it's called Ag and Tourism.
Okay, so you're on both of those then? Okay, great, thank you.
And then we need to put a finance committee member on the Economic Development Corporation, which currently meets the third Thursdays of the month at 1:30 in the afternoon here in our boardroom.
I'm on that.
Yes, I know. I know you are, but I think we have a vacancy because Commissioner Harrison is now on PHS.
Okay.
And he was appointed there because he was on finance. So, again, John, you have first crack, then Ezra, then Terry.
No, once again, thank you.
Okay. Ezra or Terry?
Mac, I'd defer to Terry. She's senior right now.
All right, Terry, you're appointed to the Economic Development Corporation. Thank you for accepting that appointment.
Tell you about what it is. We'll talk.
You're all choked up.
We'll appoint Commissioner Bell to the Twin Cities Area Transportation Study Committee. We have a opening on Parks and Recs, I think because of Bill Chickering stepping down. We have one opening there. Julie, since you are light on appointments, let's put you there.
Thank you.
Community Corrections, since Commissioner Bell is on admin, Jim, I'd like to appoint him to Community Corrections if you have no objection.
Nope, that's fine.
All right. Berrien County Human Services Council, Commissioner Harrison, will you be interested in that still?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And then the Public Safety Communications Center, Op Committee, 911 Technical. We've got 2 admin committee members on there right now. Do we have a third opening for a commissioner, or is that a public?
This one,
Septic.
it was Hugo.
It was Hugo, all right.
So,
Julie, you're appointed to that. So you and Dave and Jim are all gonna be on that.
Was he on that committee?
Pardon?
Was he on our committee?
I didn't realize it.
I don't know if he was ever there.
that's what the records show.
Oh, okay. I never saw him.
I don't think he ever attended. Maybe
I don't think so,
he-
yeah, I didn't know we had a third one on there.
Yeah.
Once Jeanette left, I thought maybe she was.
Who was it?
Chris Hugo.
Hugo.
Oh.
All right, did I miss anything?
Thank you, Mac.
Okay, well, with all of that, Madam Clerk, you're probably gonna wanna coordinate with Ms. Krieger Christie, to make sure that's all nice and tight in the minutes. All right, next is the conflict of interest waiver discussion. Everyone's filled out their form. But we take whatever was submitted and make it a matter of record now in a public meeting. I'll lead off. Mine didn't change from a year ago. I listed that I have an adult child who works for the prosecutor's office. Independently, I get no finder's fee or anything for that job. That's been, I think, for 4 or 5 years now that she's worked in that office. I think we'll go around the horn here, counterclockwise, or clockwise, and then we'll go to the TV. So Jim?
Okay, mine also did not change. I have no conflict of interest that I'm aware of.
Dave?
I have no conflict of interest. The only thing I ever had on here was my mother, who worked at the senior center, the North County Senior Center, and at 89, she finally had to retire last year. So I have nothing to disclose.
Okay, and Julie?
Mine's all new, and there's only one, and that is with WellPath. My daughter works there currently, and I have a brother that is an executive with the company.
Okay, I'm going to go from top to bottom of the screen, left to right. So Ezra, that means you're next.
Mac, I have nothing to disclose from my last disclosure, which was nothing.
All right. Mamie?
Yes, my husband is a retired Berrien County juvenile probation officer.
So yours is the same as it was a year ago then?
Yes.
All right. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My disclosure has not changed. As of October of 2020, I presented an updated form. I'll just read that statement again, that in September 12 of 2020, I took over the interest of the membership of the business that my husband, deceased, owned, called Baroda Valley Farms LLC. From its formation until my husband's death in 2019, the LLC membership was held solely by Patrick, my husband, his father, and one other member. After Patrick's death, that interest of the LLC was transferred to the other members. My daughters and I received no compensation for that transfer of that interest, and we took no interest in the LLC. However, in 2020, the members of the LLC informed me that they desired to discontinue their involvement with the LLC, and not wanting to see my husband's LLC simply dissolved, I agreed to have the whole membership interest of Baroda Valley Farms LLC transferred to me, which occurred on September 12th of 2020. I have knowledge that prior to my taking membership interest, Baroda Valley Farms LLC rented equipment to Rev Excavating, and that such equipment may have been used for county drain projects. Therefore, it's my intention to abstain from all contracts between Rev and the county. It's also my intention that Baroda Valley Farms LLC will not permit the use of any of its equipment or other assets in any other county projects during my service on the Board of Commissioners. I will continue to apply this practice, and if I have any reason to believe anyone close to me is directly or indirectly associated with county business, I will research all the facts and will opt to abstain if there's any doubt about their participation in any matter brought to this board. That is my statement for my disclosure form. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bob?
My disclosures are much the same as last year. I have a brother-in-law who is a employee of the Sheriff's Department doing courthouse security, a son who works at Green Earth Recycling and does work for the Parks Department during the recycling events, Edgewater Bank, which I own stock in. I'm chairman of the board for the Berrien Community Foundation, and I think that was pretty much it.
Okay, thanks. John? Okay. Don?
Yes, sir. I did change mine. My son's business has really grown, and he asked me to be maybe officer in the company to help him with his business. And what he does the demolition, and he's going to be doing that for the county. And he asked me to step in to help him. So I will be helping him in this business, and I will disclose anything. If he bids on it, I will disclose or basically say abstain. But that did change.
Don, what's the name of the business?
It's Meeks Contracting. I'm sorry, I don't know if I was on mute or not. I was just talking and stuff, but did you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, then.
Michael?
Yes, mine's the same as last year. My brother is renting part of the building that Berrien County owns and operates. And I'll abstain from anything going towards that building.
All right, very good. Thank you. Did I miss anyone? Okay, then the next item is commissioner reports. Does anyone have anything?
I just want, you should have gotten an email this morning from Mac. Our governor, I guess, is going to give a little update on things directed at the commissioners and the county leaders at noon today. So look at your emails. There should be a link in there. You can just join that at 12 o'clock. The governor decided at midnight last night she wanted to meet with the county officials.
Anyone have anything else?
Mac, Commissioner Scott, I just received an email from the White House IGA's office, which is the Intergovernmental Affairs Office. Those are the people that we've been dealing with at the White House. And they said that farewell and goodbye and thank you for all of our participation, and that they have already forwarded ours or mine and whoever else was there information to the new oncoming administration staff so that we can continue the conversation with the White House on such as federal grant programs with the broadband and all of that. So I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. Anyone? Administrator's report.
Yeah, so members of the board, this is really just for the members of the admin committee. We've got a tour of the public defender's office, and given some of the construction going on the bridge, I want to make sure that you all know exactly where we're going to start. We are going to be meeting over at the Church Street location, and you can see my cursor, it's right here. So here's the courthouse, and then directly across the street is Church Street. If you just park in the sheriff's department lot, you can just walk over. And then Paul will have, Paul Janch Jr. will have maps for all of you, but just for visual reference, you're going to be going from Church Street, and then we've got to get over to Edgewater. And because the bridge is closed, the simplest thing to do is just go through Benton Harbor on West Main Street. And then if you can see here, this is North Shore. If you just take that and hang a left over into Edgewater, that'll be the quickest and simplest way to get there. I will have just printed maps for the admin committee members that Paul will hand off to
What's
you.
the number and street it's on? If you get the address right. If it's not right in front of you, don't worry about it.
Paul's got it.
Okay.
I'd have to look it up, but
So just
Don, just
my
as a
phone.
reminder,
Enterprise Drive.
we're gonna head over
Yeah,
to
my
the
dad
Church Street
is down there,
location
so.
as soon as we wrap up this meeting. Those are my comments, sir.
All right, thank you.
some new buildings down in there though.
General public comments. We're now at that point on the agenda, so we'll wait and see if anything is coming into the pipeline.
And actually already got one that kind of started at the end of the requisitions, but this person said it's okay to wait until general public comments. So this is from Tony Benhart in Sodas Township. As to the new loader for the road department, I feel that there needs to be some more work done on the purchase. There are many slightly used ones available for less money.
Buy somebody else's trouble.
It is a special use item and does not get 12 months of use. And so a slightly used one may be better since money is tight. The machine is a hydraulic drive and it is not a good fit for long distance road travel. That's the end of Tony's comments.
All right.
Put it on file.
And I checked like 3 or 4 times, so I think we're good on the cross. I don't believe we have any others.
We'll move on then to, yes, ma'am, Mimi?
How many people are online watching us and that?
Well, we had 23 at one time, and now we only have 18, so.
Okay, thank you.
Still pretty good.
Fell asleep.
I like to know.
They left us.
Okay, so I think we're done then with public comments. We'll go into other business. Does anyone have anything? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just have one item. Brian sent the administration committee an email that I just glanced at. Next Thursday in the morning. Is everybody available?
Thursdays, I'm always available.
Okay, Don Meeks, you good with that also?
I'm okay with it. I got to figure out what the mute button was, so I'm okay with it. Thank you.
What time?
Okay. Did you have a time in mind, Brian?
What time?
I didn't see a time. Do you have a time?
Do
in
it
mind?
before then?
I was actually hoping we could meet prior to Thursday. So next Thursday, we're gonna have PHSC at 8, followed by Finance at 9, then this board at 10:30. Caitlin has a contract with, Telered, thank you. She is also planning to present to the full board on Thursday, just on some of the 800 megahertz challenges. So my hope was to have admin meet with her on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I'm sorry, we're off Monday. Tuesday or Wednesday, to go through the Telered contract and then try to use that time as a bit of dress rehearsal.
How long do you anticipate it taking?
I would think that's the only item that right now that I've got for admin, so I would think we could have you done by 45 minutes.
Would 10 o'clock
10 o'clock Wednesday,
on
or
Wednesday
Tuesday?
morning work?
Can we do Tuesday instead? Or Wednesday, yeah, we got an 11 o'clock
10
Wednesday
a.m. on
meeting.
Wednesday?
Yeah, because afternoon, I'm with my grandkids on there.
Or 9:30, if you don't think it's gonna bump up against the
We've got a transportation committee meeting at 9 on Wednesday, the 20th. If we did admin at 10,
Yeah,
and just knew that we had to have a hard out by 10:45, that allows you to go straight into EOC.
that's good.
Okay,
Are you good with
so
that?
admin would be 10 a.m. Wednesday?
Yeah.
Don, 10 a.m. Wednesday, is that good for
That'll
you?
be fine with me, Jim.
Okay, Julie?
Yeah, good.
Dave? Good. Okay, think you can mark it down, Brian. We're good.
Doing it now.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, sir.
Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During commissioner reports, my internet was acting up. So this may be something that really would have fallen under my commissioner report. First, I wanted to just extend a thank you to our administrator with regards to the 800 megahertz radio discussion. I know that he reached out to my township officials from a request from me, and they really appreciated your time and attention to it. So I wanted to publicly thank you for that, Brian. The other thing that I wanted to make this board aware of, I serve on the Housing Resource Network Committee, and we had a meeting yesterday, and there was conversation about a grant that is coming out through MISHDA for emergency rental assistance for Berrien County. And the grant amount is fairly large. It's nearly $7 million total that spans a total of 2 years for spend down. But 65% of it, from my understanding, which during the meeting, which was at 9 o'clock, there wasn't a lot of information because there was a webinar through MISHDA at 10 a.m. to kind of go through the details of what the spending details were and the grant information was about. And I had another meeting at 10 o'clock, so I wasn't able to sit on that webinar. But I believe 65% of that grant money will have to be spent down by September, the end of September 2021. So I just wanted to make this board aware. And also to say that our staff from community development is working really hard to understand, to help all of those agencies and organizations throughout Berrien County be prepared to help utilize this money for some of the more vulnerable population that we have within Berrien County. The only other comment that I had, or question that I had, is directed to our administrator, and it's related to the broadband discussion. I know that we talked about a call of action of having community partners reach out to the county. to participate in the webinar on January 25th. Do we have an email specifically that you could put out there so that if there is a community partner who wants to be put on that list, that they can connect with the county to be included on that?
Yes, we do, and just give me about 30 seconds. I'll find that email address.
Okay.
Actually, no, it's right on the agenda.
Sorry. Yes, sir. And Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, this is just taking a second, and I've got it up. So it is a merit survey at berriencounty.org. And again, it's MERITSURVEY at berriencounty.org. And I'm going to display that on everyone's screen real quick. So this email address is live, and as we get closer into February, we'll have a whole lot more information rolling out. Specifically, there will be a customized website for the public to communicate with the merit team. But any questions, number one, you can always email me, you can call me, but anyone that's trying to get in touch with merit can use this email address. It's up and running.
Cool. Got it.
Okay, thank you. Back to other business. Does anyone on the screen have anything?
I'd just like to mention Brownfield has its first meeting at 1:30 today. If anyone wants to join in.
All right, thank you. Anyone else out there in Cyberland? Anything in the room then?
Yep. I would like to propose that we look at writing another letter to our governor and Director Gordon supporting our communities, businesses, and residents. The letter would be requesting MDHHS to go back to a regional approach that the governor used last summer regarding the restrictions and outlining the issues and implications related to us as a border community, and suggesting that we copy our legislatures and all the county governments of Michigan. And I have put together a proposed first draft that I can send over to you.
All right. Any thoughts on that? Anyone?
Mac, Commissioner Scott, all of us received a correspondence from the clerk's office on what Baraga County had done. And I understand now that they have been followed by Delta County. That was basically, I believe in their resolution, I don't have it right in front of me, but basically I think it was like that they're not going to enforce any of the governor's or MDHHS orders on this lockdown. I believe that was the main gist of it. I think we need to do something as a board of county commissioners in support of our small businesses that are just, they're being crushed. I don't like the aspect of what Baraga did and how they had formed their resolution to the governor. I would be more in favor of doing a resolution letter, whatever this board thinks is whatever they think, but it would be that we would defer the enforcement of the governor's orders through the MDHHS, and that we would defer it back to the governor and the MDHHS and the Michigan State Police to do the enforcement. It's easy when the governor does these things, she passes it down and the buck gets passed down here to the county level. It puts us in a bad light with our small businesses, the sheriff, and our health department. These are our neighbors. These are our friends that are suffering. And my thought would be to defer the enforcement of the MDHHS orders back to the state of Michigan and let them deal with that. And that way we don't have to deal with it. That's my thoughts. Thank you.
I also agree with both of them. I'd rather do it sooner than later, but both are good thoughts.
Dave?
I've seen some individual letters from county commissioners in Michigan that have gone to the governor and the state. We got to be careful. Some of these counties that are making statements are political statements, and I think we need to steer clear of that. Baraga County has 8,000 residents. The other what's the other one that wrote something? They've got, I think, 34,000. So they're much smaller. I mean, they got 43,000 in those counties combined, but they're making a political statement. They're small and they say we don't want to take it anymore, and that's fine. But the letters we write, if we want to put all our names on it, should not be a political statement, but something that we love to help our residents in the county, but there's not a lot of clout that we have, and our legislators and our governor and those people in Lansing have to understand how we're hurting. And I like the letter idea, and our people are calling for it and want it. I think it's a very good idea, but as long as there's no politicalness involved in it, I think it's a great thing.
Other thoughts? Anyone? Yes, ma'am.
This is completely off the subject. Are you all in that room without masks? Why is that all right?
I am.
Social distancing.
Okay.
We're following the recommendation.
When we get up, we have our mask.
Yeah. Anyone gets coffee or anything, they put a mask on.
Okay. I thought about that earlier, and I just wanted to say it now.
You're going to turn us in, eh?
When we write, we do resolutions or whatever, it comes from a committee. Comes from, Julie, what committee are you on? PHSC or admin?
Admin.
Yeah. If something is presented, I would hope it would come from a committee to all of us to
Any other thoughts, comments, concerns? Jim?
Well, my preference would be do it by resolution. That's the way we speak as a board. And I'm perfectly fine with asking or advising the governor to go back to regions rather than one size fits all. To Commissioner Scott's point, I don't think that needs to be in the resolution. That is really something I think that is internal. That's our decision to make here locally. So I would not put that in the resolution, but instead of a letter, I like the resolution idea. Too, and I'm perfectly fine with asking the governor to reconsider, go by districts, not one size fits all.
All right. Julie, will you share your draft letter with Brian and with the admin committee members and with me? And then we'll get something circulated for consideration for next week.
That's good.
Any other comments on this topic? Let me chime in. We're dealing with a statutory framework that I doubt the legislature would have written it the way they wrote it had they known how it could be used. By that I mean the enabling authority for the director of the Department of Human Services, which includes Michigan Department of Public Health. It's Director Gordon. There is no sunset provision that pertains to a declaration of a public health emergency by the state director, like there is for the governor making a declaration of emergency. That statute has a 28-day cycle on it, which says after 28 days, the legislature has to approve any extension. In similar fashion, locally, if there's a declaration of emergency made by me as board chair, it's only good for 7 days. And then this board would have to approve an extension under whatever terms and conditions it deemed appropriate. Unfortunately, there's no mechanism for the state legislature to step in. Also, you might remember in November there was a suit filed against Director Gordon, and I think it was by the Michigan Restaurant Association or a name similar to that. It was a hospitality group and restaurants who sued because they didn't think it was appropriate to shut everybody down again for providing indoor service. And you can't evaluate that suit in a vacuum. You have to look at it in terms of the one that was filed, I believe, last May. And that was by the folks who have health clubs. And in that case, which went to Judge Maloney issued a restraining order saying that the governor had exceeded her authority and that these places should be allowed to open with safety measures, distancing, and so forth. The state of Michigan did an emergency appeal to the Sixth Circuit, which is the federal court of appeals that includes Michigan, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Minnesota, and Ohio. And a 3-judge panel on the Sixth Circuit reversed Judge Maloney. In doing so, they created a new type of legal analysis. They deviated from precedent that has existed for about 150 years that I know of. Now, maybe more like 100. But the standard for public safety measures being reviewed by the federal court when it's a state action is that there has to be a rational basis to support the state action. It's the most lenient type of judicial review that the federal courts do on state action. Strict scrutiny by its label would tell you that's the most severe, where they're really holding the state government to the fire, putting them under the microscope, whatever you want to call it. Those are things involving race, gender, religion. Here, public safety, the standard for years and years and years has been if there has to be a rational basis to support it. If there is a rational basis, it will be upheld. Judge Maloney found there was not even a scintilla of evidence to support what the Governor Governor Whitmer did in closing all these places down. The U.S. Court of Appeals said, well, we're not going to apply rational basis anymore. We're going to adopt a new standard called rational speculation. So think about that. That means it's wide open, because you can speculate, well, this might be a problem. And it makes it very difficult for a federal court reviewing, in this case now, administrative action by the public health director to do anything. And Judge Maloney, I read his decision denying the request for a restraining order. He said he's constrained because as long as the Sixth Circuit has adopted this new standard of rational speculation, which exists in none of the other circuits in the federal system, that there really wasn't a whole lot he could do. So that suit by the restaurants and the hotels was very quietly dismissed a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago. Dismissed without prejudice, meaning the case can be reactivated later. But in my opinion, it won't get reactivated as long as rational speculation is the reviewing standard. So that means even if you sue in federal court, you're not going to get anywhere. Now, if you sued in state court, it'd be a different standard of review. It would be about abuse of discretion. But the best way to deal with that is on the front end, and that's by the enabling legislation. However, our legislature did not do anything to put any limits in place, and that won't happen, in my opinion, given the current divide between the legislative and executive branch in this state. Any effort to put a time limit on public health orders would likely be vetoed by Governor Whitmer. So what we have is a situation where any input we have is simply in the nature of a request, an expression of concern, and there's good reason to be concerned. I understand, I haven't seen them, this is anecdotal, but I understand there are signs in St. Joe County, Indiana that say, "Thank you, Governor Whitmer," put up by Indiana restaurant owners.
Sure.
Because so many people in New Buffalo are going to Michigan City, South Bend to Mishawaka.
St. Joe Township.
Cass down to Elkhart, because you can go 5 miles, 10 miles, whatever, and as you cross the state line, there's a magic gun that vaporizes COVID, and now you can go into the restaurants. And when you return, apparently it vaporizes you again, so you don't bring anything back into Michigan. And I don't mean to be making light of it, but it's hard to find a rational scientific basis to support what's being done to our restaurants. Now, I know Indiana has a lot of COVID cases. Their deaths are similar to ours, very low. And I did get some information yesterday about their COVID cases, and there's nothing I could find that made a nexus between people eating in restaurants and COVID, because they're doing what we were doing. You have to mask to go in, you have to mask to go to a table. If you go to the restroom, you have to mask again. And so if we had a regional approach, we'd be able to reckon with something that they don't have in Lansing, which is being on a state line. And I think sometimes the people in state government, in the executive branch, they only talk with each other and they reinforce each other's views. But if they had to think about how it impacts the border counties, maybe they would say, gee, we should provide for local discretion. And if we do a resolution that speaks to that, I'm supportive. If we do one that says or would suggest that we would not want to have enforcement of state public health orders, I would not support that, even if I don't agree with the orders. It puts our public health officer in a no-win situation, and our sheriff, who took an oath to enforce the law. And our public health officer is the only employee we have who is hired directly by this board, not by the administrator. However, when we hire a public health officer, that is conditional. That hiring has to be approved by the director of public health in Lansing. And again, that's unique. It's statutory. So when we hired Nikki Britton a few years ago when Mike Mortimer retired, we hired her, but that hire had to be approved in Lansing. And the state director has a direct line of authority over our public health officer. So if we were to tell her, don't enforce anything, we're putting her in a catch-22. So for those reasons, I would not endorse telling Lansing, we're not enforcing anything. So those are my thoughts. Does anyone have anything in response to that? I understand we had a comment that filtered in, a public comment that filtered in late. Let's find out about that.
This is from Eric Lester of St. Joseph Township. The most important thing you can do for our citizens is to follow the state public health guidelines. If you want to help small businesses, give them money, not people's lives. Berrien County should follow the law.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
No disagreement there.
I think we all can agree with that. Mamie, did you have something?
I just said it's Dr. Eric Lester.
Yes. All right, well, does anyone have anything else before we go to announcements and reminders? Okay, then it's already been mentioned, we're closed on Monday for Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Meetings, we meet, of course, next Thursday at 10:30. Next Wednesday, admin at 10 a.m., EOC at 11. And Thursday, PHSC at 8, Finance at 9. And I think that's all the meetings. If no one has anything else, then we stand adjourned next Thursday at 10:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.